Curvis, welcome to the 71st episode of the Curve the Cube podcast. This is your host, Jemmy with Flintstone Media. Hello, Mrs. Doubtfire voice. Hello. Well, so I couldn't be happier to bring you this episode. I sat down with Jeff Demario, who is, first of all, a lovely, lovely human being. Second of all, he is the CEO of Vita Nova, which is an incredible organization in West Palm that I'm going to tell you about in a second. But first, I want to tell you about his office. His office is full of some of the coolest stuff I've ever seen in my entire life. Like Star Wars memorabilia and superhero, super geek stuff. Like, I was dazzled and just had to curtail my inner comic book store girl and compose myself because I was just so happy to be in his space. And his space is fun, and that's a reflection of who he is. And as I said, he's the CEO of Vita Nova, and Vita Nova is an incredible organization in West Palm. And they do something that I'm shocked and a bit ashamed to admit that I'd never thought about before. They help kids who are transitioning out of foster care and into adulthood. They're basically West Palm's answer to all the challenges that those kids face. You know, housing, education, life skills training, counseling. Speaking of life skills, everyone should go on their website, vitanovainc.org, and check out their life skills videos. I loved them. I thought they were really good and really well done. So go check them out. But Vita Nova, if you flip back to your elementary or middle school or whenever school, Latin class means new life. And that's exactly what they provide for these kids. They help them make sure that they have built up their self-esteem, making sure that they know how to live, not only want to, but know how to live productive lives and be social human beings. And think back to when you were 18, if you're not there yet, and all the challenges you faced, still finding yourself while also discovering the world at the same time. And it's a hectic time in your brain and in your body, and you add in hormones and all the typical social challenges that you face. Now subtract from that equation a structured support system of a consistent family, and you have an idea of what these foster kids are facing. And chances are you would not fare so well. Chances are without a place like Vita Nova, a lot of these kids don't fare so well. So just a quick note on some stats. Each year, approximately 26,000 young adults age out of foster care in the U.S. And 4 years out of aging out, 25% of them have been homeless. Less than half have graduated from high school, and more than 80% are unable to support themselves. So organizations like Vita Nova are so critical in making sure that these kids have a chance, a real solid chance, and that they don't turn to things like drugs and crime, and not only affect themselves, but affect society as a whole, and make the decision whether that effect that they can have is going to be positive or negative on their lives and everybody's lives around them. So Vita Nova is phenomenal. They're currently celebrating their 10th anniversary, and to make it another 10 years, they need the community's support, whether that's financial or volunteering. I mean, there are just so many different ways to pitch in and help. Go to vitanovainc.org or call 561-689-0035 and ask for Jeff, who is a CEO, who I will be talking to in just a minute on this podcast. Or visit their thrift store, which is located on Congress, just north of 10th Avenue, and do some shopping and support their cause. You can follow Vita Nova on Twitter at 18 and life, which is spelled L, the number 1, F-E, and the link will be in the write-up, so don't freak out. But 18 and life is their Twitter handle. They're also on Facebook, so you can go there and just support their cause, because they're a really great group of people who are working really hard and are super committed to these kids, and the stories are just phenomenal. So really support them. This episode of Curve the Cube is sponsored by my friend and the lovely lady who did my hair today, Janice Massey of the Janice Massey Salon. I wonder how she came up with that. She was my featured guest in episode 27, as well as being a longtime sponsor of the podcast, so show her lots of support as well. She is a girl power entrepreneur right here in West Palm, and she is phenomenal. She owns a hair studio, and she does natural hair, and so she does my locks, she does braids, she does creative styling, transitional hair care, all kinds of stuff. So she's really, really talented, and is committed to a happy, satisfied, good-looking customer. So go check her out. She's on Facebook, she's on Twitter, she's on Instagram, Janice Massey Salon. You cannot miss her, and her links are also going to be in the write-up as well. So sit back and relax. Oh, I also want to thank DJ John Hitta for my music bed, as always. And thank you to my listeners. As I sit here today, I just checked the stats on the podcast, which is, it's immeasurable. What really matters to me is how much my guests enjoy being on the show, how much my listeners enjoy listening to the show. But the more hits I have, the bigger I know the podcast is growing, and the more people it is affecting and influencing to also follow their passions. So it is in that vein that I share this big news. That as I sit here today recording this intro, it is currently the biggest. I know it sounds like a release day because you're hearing this on a release day most likely, but it is actually in reality a Saturday that I'm recording this, and it is the biggest non-release day hit rate of Curve the Cube history, and I'm flabbergasted and so humbled, and it's just so grateful for all of my listeners and sponsors and guests for making this podcast into what it is. So sit back and relax. This is Jemmy telling you welcome to the 71st episode of the Curve the Cube podcast with my guest, Jeff Demario, the CEO of Vita Nova. Enjoy.
Curve the Cube will now initiate.
Hi, Jeff.
Find you. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good.
Nice to meet you. I'm Jemmy.
Nice to meet you. Pleasure. I'm glad you found it. Okay.
Thank you. I totally did.
Okay, good.
So where should we set up shop?
Probably my office would be okay. Would you like some water or anything?
I'd love
before you get
some.
going?
Yeah.
We got water. We got soda.
Water's
What do you want?
fine.
Coffee?
Yeah. Perfect. Where do you usually sit?
Anywhere.
All right.
Pull this stuff out of my pocket. I have music going on in here, and
This is the second one of these little
oh yeah.
pillows I've seen in like a week, and I think they're hilarious. Like, there's got to be a reason I keep seeing them. Maybe it's a sign that I should get one.
A lot when I'm texting
Yeah.
people, so someone thought it'd be cute just to say, I'm gonna give him his own.
One of my favorite little phrases to text using nothing but emojis is I do that, and then the picture of the church, and then the picture of that, and usually translates pretty well.
Just kind of caught on to it. Very nice. Well done.
Oh my gosh.
So what do you want to do? Do you want to just sit for a minute and talk? And then
Yeah.
you want to sit up and just let stuff play? And
Yeah, let's
that
just
works?
chat, and then if you want to show me around after, that'd be awesome.
Okay, cool. We can do that.
Yeah. So tell me all about Vita Nova and what wonderful work you guys do here. Let my listeners hear all about what you guys do.
Okay, good. First of all, we live, because if we're live, then that's going to be bad, right?
No, this is taped, and then it actually won't be out till... This one will come out on Monday.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. So
Kudos to the Ben Harper poster, by the way.
Oh, good.
And
yeah.
all the other stuff that's dazzling my eyeballs right now, like the Star Wars memorabilia.
Yeah.
I saw all the superhero stuff.
Yeah.
Man, if I had known, I'd have brought my kid. He would have had a time in your
like
office.
A museum in here, and what's funny is, so we work with teenagers.
Yeah.
One of our mission is to help teenagers become to their full potential, right? And so when I was growing up, we had all of this stuff. We had really cool music. We had Star Wars. We had superheroes. We had cartoons. We had tons of pictures.
Yeah.
And so what I wanted to try to do with the office space is just kind of celebrate teens for what they
Absolutely.
we've kind of moved away from that in a culture now that's video games and texting and social media. But I really feel like there's a grounding in family and what you get from home. And I started this table, so this is a table that I have that has many pictures on it. It's a picture collage.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And we got this. Our thrift store was very nice to give me this table. Although I'm the CEO, they still gifted the table to me.
It's
so I can
amazing. I love it.
So what's cool about it is it slipped one picture underneath years ago.
Yeah.
And a young person would sit down and meet with them and counsel with them, and they said, "Oh, you need a picture of me. I don't see a picture of me." And they slipped the picture of me. And then slowly, I would get text saying, "Hey, put this under your table, Mr. Jeff." And I'm like, "Okay." So we just put stuff, and
this is great.
It grew into this wonderful kind of memory.
And there's so many different kinds of pictures. It's not only just like your traditional pictures. It's some, like I see, like a driver's license and business cards and all kinds of fun stuff. That's
We've been to California to follow a youth out there, so we went out to In-N-Out Burgers. I also got a parking ticket, and the parking ticket's on here from LA.
I got one too. Well, mine was a traffic ticket. I'm still contesting it years later. In my heart, at least.
It's okay. We won't say anything. So kind of the mission here is to really figure out how do you become a successful adult when you haven't had a family structure to do so. Right.
And it's interesting. And it wasn't until I got Kara's email that I've thought about, I've always kind of been charitable at heart, and so I've thought about these kinds of things. But for some reason, this specific issue of foster kids transitioning out into adulthood, I never really thought about it before. Right. It's difficult for any teen to transition to adulthood, but without that support structure, I can't even imagine.
Sure, at 18 is
right, when you think about all the challenges for both mentally and physically and all the hormones and everything that comes together to make that time in someone's life super challenging. So how do you, so when did this place begin? I know you guys are celebrating your 10th year.
Yes, it's a 10-year
Yeah, so tell me a little bit about the story.
The laws have changed a little bit, and so we have to, let's go back in time a little bit about our early beginnings. And it is an interesting story because I wasn't always working with older foster youth. I've had a career of 22 years working with youth of some kind, but never over 18. I figured 18, you're done, right? Right.
So that's kind of what I mean. Like, you don't really think about it.
Yeah, I was at a local nonprofit here in West Palm. And what happened was I got to a director position, and then as a director I had to cover multiple programs. Well, that particular day we lost the director of our housing program for under 18 youth in the Department of Children and Families Care. So I said, okay, how hard can this be? I'll just kind of pick that up under my responsibilities and pinch hit and bring some enthusiasm and fun into that program, right? Okay. So here you go. I get there and I find that it's typically a group home. So back then there was some group home problems going on. We had to clean some staff out, so we cleaned the staff out that were not so healthy for our kids. And it's hard because these positions are sometimes filled with people with second and third jobs. Right. And here they are interfacing with kids that need guidance and whatnot. So, but there's this.
Can I stop you real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
And ask, when you say group home, is that what people might think of as like the modern equivalent of an orphanage?
Yeah, nowadays it probably would be an orphanage. You would go there until you either got transferred to a foster home or adopted. Which, if you remember the movie Annie,
yes, I was just thinking about it. Right, I literally was just thinking about Annie.
Whichever version you watch.
Right. Original. Sorry, it's got to be the original.
Then it's kind of like that in Florida. So we had this kid. He was just such a hard kid, Malik, and Malik was 17 and 364 days when I took over the kind of the leadership of the shelter. And man, he couldn't wait to turn 18 because he said on the midnight of my 17th birthday or whatever, 18th birthday, I'm going to walk out of this place and there's nothing you can do. So I thought, oh, this is terrible. And some of the staff were like, fine, let Malik go. He's such a troublemaker anyway. And I'm like, no, we can't let him go. I don't care how hard-headed he is. We have to somehow. Well, sure enough, I get a call on call, midnight. Mr. Jeff, Malik's walking down the street. He's leaving. He packed his bags. He's gone.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And I said, go get him. My only response. So I zipped over to the program. They had him still. They were able to coax him back into the place. And he said, Mr. Jeff, there's nothing you can do. It's my 18th birthday. I'm emancipated. I'm free. I don't want anything to do with foster care. I called the police because I figured he's going to run. I want him to be safe. He wasn't listening to me. I figured maybe he was harming himself. Police said, there's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
He's an 18-year-old male. He's not in the care and custody of the department anymore. He can go.
Yeah.
And he walked out. And it was at that moment that I realized we needed something for older foster youth.
Yeah.
And as fate would have it, I ran into the founder of this agency who was giving another speech somewhere, and I bought into the mission because I saw it firsthand.
Leo?
And Leo
Yeah.
Armbrust, right. And what ended up happening is I got the job here, told that story, and it's been preventing the Maliks of the world ever since.
Right. And I'm thinking about what his motivation may have been in that moment. It could have been a whole host of things, It could have been frustration. It could have been fear, of sometimes you're afraid of that unknown, and so you just step into it defiantly, thinking that's what proves that you're not afraid.
Yeah.
And so it's really great to see that there's a program here that can help. I mean, are there programs like this that you know of throughout the country, or is this a very unique
No,
thing?
yeah, I thought we were alone until when we found other housing programs in the county when we first started, but it was really housing with limited support, and then not all the kids would choose it. You got to think about foster youth really not just being foster youth, they are just youth. And so I know at 18 I was kind of a little rebellious with my parents and the rules of the house,
Right.
And so at 18 in foster care, it's no different. The genetics are the same. And so when Malik was leaving, or when any youth is kind of wanting to leave a foster home, they're done, just like we were kind of done back then. But at least we always had, chicken cutlets to run home to. Right. But these youth really, when they said they were done, they didn't really have that backup plan.
Right.
So we found some models out in California that were way ahead of us when we started in year 1. They were like in year, 35.
Wow.
And they were advancing. They gave us some advice along the way, and they told us basically a pillow and a roof is not going to help these kids at all. You need to have therapy in the house. You need to have life skills that teach cleaning, cleanliness, money management. You need to have drug prevention and drug intervention. And you need to have these things in place, at least as a starting point. And I'm so glad we listened to them, because that helped sustain the program to this day. And
I'm sure. Because I'm thinking that when it comes to the typical risks of teenage years, right? The drug use, the unplanned pregnancy, or host of communicable transmitted diseases that they can catch, or homelessness, et cetera, that all of that is heightened when on top of that they're coming from a background where they haven't had a steady support system. So can you talk about what typically would happen to, I read online on your website some of the statistics that come about, and what are you trying to prevent here?
Sure. And I think, it's a great question. So the statistics aren't very good for foster youth when it comes to things like education, employment, and kind of productive activity. And we'll lump, like, productive activity could be things socially that they're doing. Teen pregnancy, we can, it's not a productive activity, but
it is, but not the way that we're thinking.
but if we had a productive thing going on, we might be able to, delay that a little bit. So, 50% of the young people, or less than 50%, are getting their high school diploma. So let's start with this. If you're from foster care, you have a coin toss on whether or not you're going to get your high school diploma by the time we see you at 18.
Right.
That's just not good enough. It wouldn't be good enough in any standard home. If I told my dad and my mom, hey, you know what? 50% chance I might get my high school.
Yeah, they look at you like you're crazy.
Right. I would need help at that moment.
No chicken cutlets for you.
That's right. So if it's not good enough in a regular home or standard home, why would it be good? At Vita Nova, we're proud that we have a 75-85% graduation rate. Why? Because when we surround the young person with therapeutic needs, a culture that's positive and upbeat, a community that they can soak into, then positive things happen. Same thing happens, which why we have a very low teen pregnancy rate in our housing program as well. Same principle applies. It's not like we say, hey, girls, don't get pregnant. Boys, don't make anyone pregnant.
Right, that doesn't really get you. Please.
You can see how good it's doing just nationally.
Deaf ears are very large at 18.
And you're against hormones and all kind of stuff, which is a whole nother podcast, which I'll be glad to do. But, education and information, and then also kind of staying pumped into school and work it definitely diverts attention into positive ways, and we see that especially with our young ladies that are trying to be productive and get on their feet.
Yeah.
And they don't have to rely on a situation that's abusive.
Right.
We saw a rate that 60% of foster care girls girls from foster care, repeat domestic violence or physical abuse in their own life. And that's just terrible. And I think part of that is that you get in a cycle. These young ladies are in a cycle and they can't get out for financial reasons. They can't get out for mental health reasons, emotional reasons. And at Vita Nova, we want to fix that so we can break free from destructive things and contribute into constructive things.
Because I imagine also that sometimes they just don't recognize the positive option for them.
Yeah, right.
Because all they've known is the negative option.
You got it right. You nailed it on the head. It's the new normal.
Yeah.
So the normal for them was, well, girls in my clique are always pregnant. Or everybody has a baby.
Right.
I want to have my baby young, someone told me, Mr. Jeff, because then I could recover faster. Really? How do you recover from debt? How are you going to recover from school? And you're talking about your body recovery.
Such a one-sided recovery. Oh my gosh.
As a man, we really have no place to have these conversations, but there's a truth in informing our young male and females about, there's a new normal, and the new normal can be that you find a stable relationship to bring this child up in, because that's not what you had.
Right.
And let's face it, if you had that, then you could point to bigger and better things in your own life.
Right.
So,
how do you guys toe the line between being a program and being a parent almost? How do you toe that line? How does that happen?
It's a blurry line sometimes because how this all works, how any of this works, I don't care what agency or what business you're in, it all depends on the relationship you have with your client, right? If you're a stockbroker, you're going to have a strong relationship with your client so that they invest money in stocks, right, or what you're recommending.
If you're a smart stockbroker, at least.
And even if you're a bad one, we've seen some bad deals go down, right? And let me say
that true.
Certain deals where people trusted people, but it was people trusting in people over that relationship.
Right.
So we get that, I think, better than most because we have most of our clients with broken relationships. And so the repair there is that they don't trust us. They see me and my gray beard, and they see our staff as older, even though they're millennials.
Right.
And they say, you know what, you're just like every other adult. And so there's almost a 9-month to a year grooming period where we have to build trust, and that means doing what we say and say what we do. And when we model that for 9 months, then there's like a little bit of a test to say, okay, are you going to stay with me? Answer my phone at 9 o'clock. Come get me if it's raining. If we pass some of those little tests like that, then we can get leverage on some of these big questions.
Do you really mean what you say?
Exactly right.
Yeah.
And we find that with teens more often than not is that they have been kind of mistreated and also trust violated. I mean, when your parent does something to you, right? It's hard on that level to even trust any adult again, a stranger or a social service like we are or whatnot. And I think that's the work that is up front. But then after that, then we can do resource connection, which is kind of the easier way. You're like, wow, we're going to a graduation for a young person and coming up here in May and in December. And that feels great. We get to participate in driver's licenses when kids get their driver's licenses, and that's great. We get to cook meals and taste wonderful meals. We had crawfish the other day.
I'm immediately jealous.
I have a thing about sucking the head out and the brain out, like, oh.
Okay, you can skip that part, but you can still eat the tail, which is super yummy. And you're talking to a girl who lived in New Orleans for 4 years.
Well, there you go. I got this picture of this huge pot of crawfish. I'm like, is that crawfish? But it's those moments that, big or small, where we see success. And it's hard to measure success on one prong. You get this from donors all the time. Jeff, how are you successful? Like, show me that you're successful before I approve your money. Well, what prong do you want me to put that on?
Right.
Do you want me to show you that none of our kids got arrested in the last 5 years?
Wow.
Do you want me to show you that we have a 77% graduation rate from college when 2% are only graduating from foster care?
Wow.
What do you want me to show you, that kids pull their pants up?
Right.
I mean, do you want me to show you that kids know how to interview and get jobs 77% of the time too and hold them for 3 months?
Yeah.
So I think the proof is in the work. we just got to get better at showing our work off.
Yeah.
And as a nonprofit, we struggle in those areas.
It can be
to stay
hard
alive.
to talk about yourself when you are doing more altruistic work. It can be hard to then shine the lens back on yourself and talk about yourself.
Absolutely.
It
Let
can
me
be
just
really
chime in
hard.
here. It's 10 years, and you're like, who's Vita Nova?
Right?
Right?
even though
Yeah.
I did talk to a couple people today, a friend and then some person we ran into in a park, about this interview that I was doing, and
Great.
they both had heard of this
well,
before. So
I'm happy to hear that.
I'm the one in the
then
dark.
I'll say Vita Nova. In fact, we're getting to a point where we have to change some of the marketing materials we have to indicate what Vita Nova means for the layperson that doesn't know.
Right.
Vita Nova is new
Right.
life in Latin. If you remember that from your days
I
in
did.
school. Okay.
I did. Yeah.
We're referencing that life after 18. So let me get back to the question. So I think you're going to pull up this tape and you're going to say, "Hey, Jeff didn't answer this."
Oh, it happens almost every podcast, at least once or twice. I love tangents. It's no big deal.
The law changed from the Malik story of the kid can walk out at 18 recently in 2 years to say kids now can stay in foster care to 21.
Oh,
and we
okay.
thought this is awesome because now we got another 3 years breathing room. But without services and intervention, all we've really done is move the marker from 18 to 21, and now we got the problems at 21.
Right.
And so that hasn't been much of a solution on the state side. So we're now more relevant more than ever.
So let's get specific.
Yeah, go
What are the services and programs that Vita Nova provides to these kids?
Perfect.
Young adults.
Yeah, I call them kids. It's hard not
I
to.
know.
So we have a housing program, and the housing program addresses the needs of young people that are homeless, young people that are struggling with life skills to maintain a home. A lot of kids have been thrown out of their apartments or from their landlords or their homes or whatnot. So
Right.
they have to learn those skills to maintain cooking, cleaning, career, money management. Lord knows that's a big one. And so we teach those skills inside of the housing program and build the community at the same time. Apartment 3 knows who Apartment 2 is, and then we do groups and whatnot
Oh,
in
that's
there
great.
to interact. Yeah, it's a fun environment. We have space for 28 there. We charge a nominal fee just to get in the habit of paying somebody for a place.
Right. Let's be
But
real.
it doesn't really cover much, but in West Palm Beach we charge about $300
Okay.
a month, and that's all in. If you go to West Palm Beach to try to find a 3-bedroom, you're going to be at $1,200, $1,800 a month, maybe.
Yeah.
So the housing program has been a success for us, and that's where we see a lot of high fives happening and a lot of great stuff happening with those young people. 18 to 25 is the age range there, and it's been a good program. A lot of the kids in the community don't want to live in an apartment complex because they see it as just another foster care program. That's fine
Okay.
too. So if you just want some life coaching and you want to get some life skills and help with education in school and work, we can do that too. And we have a life skills program here that teaches life skills each month. We have life coaches assigned to about, 125 kids.
I saw the life skills videos.
Okay,
I
yeah,
loved
the
them. I thought they
videos
were
were on
awesome.
there, yeah.
They're really well done too. I was
Good.
like,
Well, you're
wow,
talking
look at
to the
this
guy who puts
production
them together,
quality.
so
That's
thank
awesome.
you. Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
Oh, kudos. I was going to ask you who did this.
We try to
Seriously,
keep
they're
it really
good.
fun for
Yeah.
the young people, and I
Yeah.
was hoping this is how silly I was. We were making the first couple, and they're pretty raw, but they get the point across about simple things. And I thought, maybe AOL or Apple will pick these up and just buy them from us and then just redo them nice and pretty. So that hasn't happened yet.
Oh, well, let's put the word out to Apple, AOL, whoever's listening.
Time
Come on,
Warner,
come on.
CBS.
My friends at Nerdist, somebody, please.
So the idea is simple. We teach life skills. You don't want to live with us, it's fine, but you can call us whenever you need to, and we stay on until the age 23. That's our state-funded program called Independent Living, and we're proud to have that program under the services. We have a thrift store, which a lot of people know of. We get a lot of recognition.
Yeah, that actually was one of the things that my friend brought up today. She's like, oh, they have a thrift store. I
They
said,
do,
yeah,
and I
lot
love the
more.
thrift store model. We get to kind of test tube working behavior in our store environment for our young people to see what's working, what's not, and then maybe we can correct it there. We also sell items that we get for free, which is wonderful. So donations get converted into really income that's additional for the agency to run. And what do we do? The best thing about the store, though, I have to say, is that beyond that is if there's a need in the community, if there's a family missing a bed, and the department says you got to get a bed in that home or the family's going to be dismantled, we'll go ahead and provide that bed if they reach out to us. Same for our older youth if they get their first apartments and whatnot, interview clothes, you name it down the line. They do Haiti relief. All kind of stuff happens at the store, so it's been really a lot of fun to have that as part of the services. Plus, it's a huge banner for Get to Know Vita Nova more. We've gotten some foundations recognize us from the storefront, and then they say, hey, you have a mission there to help foster care kids, and we can help on that.
Right.
It's happened a few times.
Where is the thrift store?
It is Lake Worth, so it's 10th Avenue and Congress in West Palm Beach.
Okay.
Palm Springs.
Okay, awesome.
The final program we have is for a kid that's completely disconnected, and this is the saddest story to tell, but a lot of times
Excuse me.
we have kids that have had a failed adoption. Adoption was at 16, and then they got put out at 18, and the parents said, I'm done. I don't know how that happens because it was like for life when the judge put the hammer down.
Right.
Or we have a kid that was from grandma, and then maybe grandma passed away, and then the kid was 18, and now there's no relative care there.
Right.
Was the only relative alive, and so those kids are still typically foster care kids. They're in a brand of foster care, and we'll be able to provide services for them, support and guidance through an OASIS program we have called OASIS. And it helps to reconnect them with missing resources.
Okay.
So all of those speak to really 4 areas of service: housing, employment, school, and life skills. And we bundle all of that up into the different approaches that we have.
Right. Well, I think it's really a wonderful mission that you guys are conquering very well.
Thank you.
Sounds like. What do you think the kids who are in these programs, because I can imagine the diversity of their stories, and what do you think that they're learning about the concept of family from being here? You know, you talked about apartment 3 knows apartment 30 knows apartment 20, and I'm thinking even that alone, that sense of community adds to that. What do you think that they're learning about the concept of family?
So, and now I get to, since I went on a tangent with blurring the lines with family and program, we can go back to that question now. I see why you're good at this. The issue is just that, like, when we talk about home and family, from a staff perspective, we think of Thanksgiving, white picket fence, Christmas gifts, whatever. But when I say family, some of our young people are thinking that's where they got raped in their bedroom.
Right, exactly.
And so we have different working definitions, and then we trigger our young people without even realizing it because we're talking about family,
right?
And they're talking about family.
Right.
So we have to help with redefining what that looks like. And so how we walk that line at the program is there are talks that we have that would be talks that sometimes a family member would have. The kids typically will reference me as a dad in the program because I'll be the one that'll come in and say, hey, who's that guy that you went in the car with? Whereas nobody else would kind of approach that topic. And then they're like, oh, you're not going to meet him, Mr. Jeff, because you're just not going to meet that person as a boyfriend. And say, when he comes around again, you bring him in the place. See, now no program in the world would say, we're going to meet everybody's friends and relatives. But at Vita Nova Village, where we have that, it's common for us to ask that because we care enough about the kids. And we'll tell them in that frame, look, I only ask because I care about you. And I only ask because I know what he wants. And so we're going to try to keep you safe. And he ought to be worth it because I know how worth it you are. Right. And so that's how we work that family angle a little bit. Program, it could sound like this. Same thing. Oh, you're going out on another date. How does your budget look? Did you submit your budget? Right. Let's look at that. So we're hugging close on a programmatic life skill versus who was that boy? Right. All right. And why did you come in so late? And so there are conversations that we have that do blur the line, but I'll tell you that both of those programs, the familial and the program, run parallel at the same time and concurrently. So we have to have them because you never know what you're going to be up against. We have kids that call us at weird hours because the kids stay up late in any program, and they might ask, talk me out of buying this new car. Or I need a dress because I'm going to go on prom. I'm going to graduate and I don't want to go because I don't have the $125 for the gown. And so we get these questions, and again, that's after we built this trust. But once we get there, man, it's a good place to be.
Yeah, sounds like it. Yeah. So how long have you been with Vita Nova now?
The entire 10 years.
Okay, so how would you describe your role as CEO on paper versus in actuality?
My LinkedIn versus
right.
Oh gosh, on paper, what I like to what I do is help raise awareness, become the face of the agency to kind of promote the issues and challenges and where the agency is trying to grow and expand. And that takes money and understanding our finances and understanding how we can grow. It also means confronting human resource issues, management issues, leadership issues, breeding future leadership. Those are all things that we try to do here on a CEO. If you read me on paper, that's what you get. I have the luxury of having so much interaction with the young people here. And I think some CEOs decide to do that or not.
Right.
But for me, whenever I speak publicly, it's because I saw a kid that day. And I can always tell the difference when I hear other CEOs talk and they haven't seen their client in 10 years.
Right.
Because they come back with that story that's so stale.
And disconnected.
Right, and our changes in society change so much, and the statistics change so rapidly now with human trafficking for young ladies that are from foster care. If you're not staying on the pulse of that by having a connection with these kids, then you can't speak to it in such a way that you can pull out the emotion that needs to be pulled out. And I'm not saying drag their trauma out to raise money. I'm saying you got to make them aware by hitting them square in the face.
The reality.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
This is not a girl doing sex work for a cell phone. This is a girl doing sex work for flowers or a pretty dress.
Yeah.
And it's still human trafficking, right?
Yeah.
And so when we come from that place, I get a lot of fuel from young people that have trusted me enough in their lives to tell their stories so that we can go ahead and help raise awareness. And I think that's the line that I like to have. And it's hard because when you get involved with the young people, it sometimes takes you away from the fundraising aspects of the job. And that's where I have to get really grounded with knowing when and where.
Right. So you share the story of Malik. How would you say, now that the program is in its 10th year, what would be, is there like a seminal example of a kid's story that is more typical at this program stage?
Sure. Yeah, and it's hard because I never like to listen to examples that are proven by the extreme, and he was an extreme, right? He's not the norm. More often than not, we see young people that can come to us and within a 2-3 year period save enough money to move into their own place with their own money for furnishings and leave happily from our apartment complex. Or kids from independent living getting jobs or passing their GED and then enrolling in college. Meanwhile, we said nothing about going to college, right? And then attending graduation is also a huge point. You know, when I graduated high school and college, I didn't have enough tickets. You know, they give you those wimpy 6 tickets.
Yeah, my friend only has 4 or 6, and she's trying to figure out. Same friend I was talking about earlier who knew of the thrift store. She's trying to figure out, which siblings.
Right, because you got so many choices, right?
Yeah.
But when you're a foster youth, you have all your tickets at the end of the graduation.
Yeah.
You have too many.
Yeah.
And so when we are able to spend those tickets, and I'll tell you, when I go to a graduation, I tell them in advance, you're going to hear me. Because we have to make up for the missing family, right?
Absolutely.
Well, I got to scream when the clapping stops, you're going to hear a, yeah, go.
Awesome.
Because you got to make up for missing
awesome.
Uncle Willie or whoever's not in the so it's those kind of fun times. But, on an extreme opposite side, we've had a young person and we've had people work for us before. That's another success of ours. Whenever our young people can come back through as paid employees, it's wonderful. We had a young person come through the program, work for us for a spell. He ended up falling in love and moving out to Missouri, and the young person ended up buying a house with money that he saved using principles that he learned here. And then when he was at the closing of the house, he called while he had the closing because I thought he was pranking me. And he showed me the stacks of papers, you sign at the closing, they're enormous. And then the comment that he made really kind of resonated me with was that, he got so tired of being moved from place to place that when he finally had the opportunity to buy his own house, he knew that no one could take him out of it. He wasn't going to be moving ever again. And so we love that story.
Yeah.
It speaks to the power of foster youth move around a lot.
Yeah.
And he wants to be stable.
Yeah. There was a, pull it up so I don't get it wrong. There was a quote on the website. I just want to read to you, and then I'd like you to reflect back on it. It says, in reality, we don't have to be rich, talented, or even particularly intelligent to make a difference in the life of another. We just need to remember that we are here for a purpose, and that making small changes in the world eventually add up to something bigger in the life of another.
Right.
Yeah.
I love that. Did I write that?
I don't know, but it's on there. It's the end of the story of the starfish being thrown into the ocean.
Right.
Yeah.
So we use the story of the starfish to say that that simple gesture in that story, and those that don't know the story can look it up. But basically, it's thousands of starfish wash up and a boy tosses them in to save the life of one. When there's so many, how do you know you made a difference?
Right.
But when you toss that one in, you made a difference to that one.
Exactly.
And so those simple gestures add up over time. And they add up and become huge for the life of one person. And so what ends up happening is that it becomes contagious. We don't ask a single person to go to college at our housing program, yet everybody yearns to go to post-secondary. And it's those small gestures that lead up to creating that expectation and in creating success. And that's kind of a secret formula, but I'll tell you what, you could try to do this in Wisconsin, but what you might be missing is the strong relationship bonds that we try to create here as well. But that's just a great example for, I think a lot of people feel like you got to give $1 million to a place like Vita Nova to make a difference for our agency. We have someone that gives $25 a month, and I'll tell you that $25 a month comes in. We have stories that we send the person back on that $25. You bought a bus pass to connect a kid to work. That same person then needed a skateboard to get to the bus because it was a 1.5 mile walk to the bus station. So thank you for the $25 skateboard. That bought a meal because the kid finally got the job from using your bus pass and now got some money to get going. $25 a month sustains and makes this big splash when you just think, all I got is $25. You don't need to be the superhuman, super rich. It's nice if we get bigger donations, we can move the needle. But I tell you, we try to contribute as much money as we can, 85 cents or more on the dollar to the kids and the mission of the program.
But you know what, I think it's even bigger than the skateboard or the bus pass or even the kids wanting to go to college, because I think about, you think about the pebble that's dropped into a body of water and those ripples.
Yeah, great.
And, they're now not contributing to crime as they may have. They're no longer as prone to being a victim of crime. Right. They are more likely to have a solid raise a family now, and then their children are less likely to be involved in negativity that they may have been otherwise involved in. So there is a sustaining effect over time that just keeps going. And so it can start with $25. It can start with that kid who knew someone cared enough that they had a 1.5 mile walk to the bus stop, that they now have a skateboard to make that a lot easier. And they're kinder to the people on the other side of that ride, or what have you, or they tell somebody about this program. I mean, I think there might be small contributions, but the reality is that the effect of those is infinite.
Yeah, and that's a great point, and one worth kind of echoing with an example. We get young people from foster care, they kind of have to go through Vita Nova if you're 18 through 21 still, because we're the provider of those services. So you enter this door because of that qualifier. But young people don't have to choose us. They could say, I'm good, I don't need it.
Right.
And more often than not, they're choosing because of somebody saying, hey, you haven't been connected to Vita Nova yet, go get connected for housing, employment, whatever. And it's worked in that way where that ripple has reached out. More than 50% of the referrals we get for the housing program. Now, the kids from the state don't have to go through our housing program, but 50% of those kids are coming from referrals of kids that are there. I need to get my sister in, Mr. Jeff. I need to get my friend in. There's a coworker who's homeless, Mr. Jeff. Can you please take him in? And it's like we get those referrals that way, and it is that kind of do the right thing. And what happens is more people will join.
Can kids young adults can they come in? Let's say that at 18 they decided to deflect Vita Nova. And maybe 2-3 years later,
absolutely,
they can come back.
Yeah, so the state will stay with you to 23. We'll stay with you to 25 because we know that there's going to be that little weird time where you may not choose initially. that's all fine because we realize and it almost works to our advantage if you think about it. So you don't want to learn about school now and you want to keep smoking weed right now? Great, go do that. And then come back to me when it doesn't work out because we know what that looks like already. We've seen the end of that movie several times.
Yeah.
And more often than not, when the kids come back, we never do the I told you so look or breath. We just say, okay, great, how can we help you now? You know, it's always that fresh, non-judgmental, we're going to get this done now that you're ready. And sometimes if we try to force a square peg into that round hole, say you're going to go to school and you're going to do it, there's just not the enthusiasm when they come to it on their own. We see this with mental health. Let me give you a small example of this. Kids that come to our program and we say, man, you were on your mental health medication when you were under 18 and now you want to stop. You should really stay on it. Okay. They say, no, I'm throwing them out. My doctor was crazy. I'm not crazy. I can do this. And then a whole host of things happen. They lose their relationships. They go homeless. They lose their job. They have no money. And then all this bad stuff happens, right? They get addicted to other drugs. And we can come back and say, how did that work? How did it work not doing your medication? I want to update. Horrible, Mr. Jeff. Maybe you should talk to somebody that can help you reconnect. Maybe not with the drugs, but with the services. And when we find that, then this kid stay longer. And I'm going to use kids because it's a term of endearment. So I'm going to use it. But you get your space. So young adults is the proper term.
So as you, at this space and time, reflect on the last 10 years, what do you think about the most?
What I think about the most is how many people still work here that worked here when we first started. And we have a huge retention rate. I mean, I think it's...
How big is your staff?
Our staff are 15 right now.
Okay.
And many of those that started with us from the early beginnings, the first 4 or 5, are still part of the agency today.
Wow.
The thrift store person, our residential person, the person that's now running the Oasis Resource Program. Our early beginnings are rooted in just good, sound stuff because it was family stuff, but also good, sound people. The other thing is that we have more people that work here that I think that have their master's degree. Master's degree in higher level education when we don't demand it. You can get in the door here with a high school diploma in most cases, but then they go to school. We hug close to our team members that go to school. They stay with us through school, and then they stay with us after school, and they get their master's degree, and it's just wonderful to see that level come through the doors, and then we get that so much more impactful for the young people.
Right, absolutely.
So on the staff level, it's that kind of respect that I appreciate. For the kids, it's just watching things materialize for them that they never thought possible. Kids that never smiled when they came in here, now they're just, you can't keep them quiet. It's kids getting jobs. It's kids finding family members they never thought they had. It's kids creating family within strangers that they never knew were around. It's mentors that come through and time again. And so all that stuff just works.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
Stuff.
What do you think about when you look towards the next 10 years?
I would love to grow. I would love to grow. I have a statewide voluntary position that I take and I assume, and I love doing it. But it's to speak to the state about independent living issues, this brand, right? And so other people are involved from the state, not just me. But when I go and hear a missing gap about housing, it kind of makes me sad that we're not there providing the same type of love that we provide here, or employment services. I'm like, why can't you do that there? It's not so much a money issue because it's just a let's get it done issue. And so I would love to see us expand growth that way within our own county, get the need right, and then try to find other areas where we can grow that way.
So the website, I want to get it right. It's VitaNovaInc.org?
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
So everybody go to VitaNovaInc.org to learn more. How can people contribute to your cause and your mission?
Absolutely. I think if you call our number at 561-689-0035 and you can ask for Jeff or have somebody find me, they'll get a hold of me when they need to. And the contribution can be monetary, which is nice. It can also be time. It could be talent. It could be whatever you're willing to give, however long you're willing to give it. it. And I tell you, it will be appreciated, and it will be utilized by our young people and our staff.
So you have volunteers here?
Yes, we do. And, you know, at the store alone, you know, it takes the store volunteers to run them. But also, you know, the Junior League is basically a volunteer group. They do enormous things for us with life skills and whatnot. But there's, you know, if you have a skill in a certain area and willing to teach it to a young adult, especially in terms of education and employment, and these are underhand pitches. I want to tell the audience, this is not like rocket science math. This is how you're going to get the basic math for high school. It's going to be how do you set up a resume? How do you interview without saying so much? Those kind of things are real easy. And I just think volunteers feel like they have to be experts when you just have to be human.
Right. No, I like that. Yeah. Just have to be human. So as we kind of begin to wrap up here, is there anything that you feel like we haven't covered? Anything you want to tell us about, or anything coming up, or anything?
Yeah, you know, one of the things is trying to get the word out. So any chance we can to kind of talk to the groups or individual groups, even if it's a club. I spoke to a group that was in a retirement complex, and they were just so grateful that I would come out and educate them about older foster youth issues they didn't know. I got a wonderful, healthy dose of what it was like in orphanages in New York from the audience, how the age used to be 16 years old, not 18. And it was those opportunities to come out and speak. If you have a business and you have a Dress Down Friday, and that's a contribution thing, we can always help take that money and turn that into some kind of a help for our young people. Doesn't take much. Car washes, any ideas you have to meet and greet, I'm always trying to get out and just thank our donors, future donors, and partners. But that's what we need, is people to really join our mission.
Right.
Not so much to write a check, but just to join the mission to help kind of provide for young people that don't have families.
Right, right. Well, I think it's an incredible mission. I think you're doing wonderful work. I think Vita Nova is amazing, but I also think that they're lucky to have someone like you at the helm who clearly cares a lot about this. So thank you for everything that you're doing for the community, because like I said, it's one drop in one little pebble makes a huge ripple effect, and I think you're positively affecting communities all over the place. So thank you so much for your work.
Appreciate the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want to help me sign off the podcast? It's super easy.
What do we do?
Okay, so all you're going to say is, you can say something like, however you want to phrase it. This has been Jeff Demario of Vita Nova with Curve the Cube.
Okay. I'll try to do this in one take. This has been Jeff Demario, the Chief Executive Officer of Vita Nova, Inc., for Curve the Cube.
Yay! High five! All right, good job. You're awesome. That was great. Yes, I thank you so much for doing this.
I'm really happy you came. This was fun. We've been doing a lot of little things to try to get the word out, but this was definitely the most fun I've had in a while. So good job.
Doing the cabbage patch for everybody who can't see. Sweet.
Good job.
You have successfully curved the cube.